At the Democrat National Convention, Joe Biden and his party repeatedly assailed America as a land of racial, economic, and social injustice. So tonight I ask you a simple question. How can the Democrat Party ask to lead our country when it spends so much time tearing down our country? They do not see America as the most free, just, and exceptional nation on earth. Instead, they see a wicked nation that must be punished for its sins.
So why don't they forego their security and replace them with social workers, especially since that's what they want for you and me?
Keep in mind, the other guy running for president is mostly concerned about power. Yes, power for them, but not for the benefit of all Americans.
I'm speaking to you from an auditorium emptier than Joe Biden's daily schedule. But
the CCP is an enemy of humanity.
President Trump will stand up against Biden-Harris, who are the most anti-life presidential ticket ever, even supporting the horrors of late-term abortion and infanticide.
President Trump is the pro-America candidate. This election is about who can preserve the values, principles, and institutions that make America great. Don't believe me? Look at what's happening in American cities. Cities all run by Democrats. Crime, violence, and mob rule. Democrats refuse to denounce the mob, and their response to the chaos? Defund the police, defund Border Patrol, and defund our military. And while they're doing all this, they're also trying to take away your guns. Look at the positions they've taken in the past few months. Democrats won't let you go to church, but they'll let you protest. Democrats won't let you go to work, but they'll let you riot. Democrats won't let you go to school, but they'll let you go loot.
Let me remind you, the Democrats have controlled this part of Baltimore City for over 50 years. And they have run this beautiful place right into the ground. Abandoned buildings, liquor stores in every corner, drug addicts, guns on the street. That's now the norm in many neighborhoods. You'd think Maryland taxpayers would be getting a whole lot since our taxes are out of control. Instead, we're paying for decades of incompetence and corruption. Sadly, the same cycle of decay exists in many of America's Democrat-run cities. And yet the Democrats still assume that black people will vote for them, no matter how much they let us down and take us for granted.
But there are people today, like politicians, professors, protesters, and of course, President Trump's naysayers in the media who like to blame others for problems. They don't have pride in our country. And because they no longer ask, what can I do for my country? Only what the country should be doing for them.
There you have it, brother. Welcome. That was special for you. I did that special for you. Put that together today as our new opening for the RNC.
Namaste, brother. That was awesome. That was great.
Yeah.
Do a little Bowie. We love the Bowie. I love the old one too. I love the old opening you did with the with Bowie too.
Yeah, that was.
I'm Afraid of Americans. That was the best.
I'm Afraid of Americans, and this kind of like it'll be up on YouTube tomorrow, as will all the clips that we have for tonight's show. Because a lot of that encompasses what you saw in the video. It's kind of the heart of many of those clips that we're going to talk about when we discuss the RNC.
I love the coach. I love the coach. He has it so perfect.
I have to tell you, brother, something that might upset you is the Democrats were very, very much, when he got done speaking. Actually, when I said Democrats, of course, I meant the media. They were very much angry and not like they were mocking him. Coach of what? Coach of who? You know, they were putting him down because he's some old guy. He's some old white guy. I mean, not surprising. That's
why they're man children.
And also because
wait,
you know
which one did you watch the convention? Because
the Communist News Network.
I watched the NBC, the NSNBC with the bearded lady.
With
the bearded lady with the race pig Joy Joy Reid, and
Right.
Wallace. That's that idiot who was not on one Bush campaign but two of them. She wanted George and idiot Jeb. That idiot.
Sarah Palin went after. I think it was went after her. I think
Because of course, because she sabotaged good old Sarah, because she's always been a creep and a Democrat. But I'm telling you, I'm gonna have to watch the conventions again just because it's so hysterical to watch these children lose their minds over the convention.
Yeah.
This is the best convention I've ever seen.
There's only been one night that's been better than these 4 nights, John, and of course that was 2016 in November, when they all lost their collective crap.
The night of,
the
right.
night of, yes.
Right.
That was so. I have something humorous that I want to share with you. If you can see Joe Biden's announcement, if you thought the Republican convention was good, just wait till we have our convention.
Somebody should tell him they had that last week, right?
Yeah,
Poor
right.
guy.
So poor guy. Yeah,
James, I think this is rope-a-dope. I think he's going to show up for the debates, and he's going to be the same slimy lawyer he's always been for the last 49 years. Whenever they need a hatchet guy, they wheel him out, and he pretends to be this nice guy, man of the people, who has the Amtrak train stopped for him because, whenever I call down Amtrak because I'm running late, they stop for me too, right? But a man of the people, and then when they need the hatchet man, there he goes, Clarence Thomas, whoever, right? So I think this is just rope-a-dope. Plus, there's only so much you can do. Let's face it, even at his best, there was not a lot of fire upstairs, even at his best.
I do have more humor. I saw this as a meme. I just thought this was apropos for most of tonight's discussion. It said very clearly what would happen if CNN had been around for more than just 20 years, and so as you can see from the screen. What would have happened if CNN had been around when the Titanic sunk? 1,500 drowned after mostly successful maiden voyage of the Titanic. But that one isn't as good as this next one for me. Sorry, we don't have extra help on tonight. It's just me. There it is.
James, I disagree with that. I think what the headline for that would be Donald Trump kills 15 other people with global warming.
Yeah, they would probably change this too. You'll notice the screen. Japanese flyover is mostly peaceful.
Yeah, exactly. Mostly peaceful, right?
Yeah,
right.
Protest.
It's a protest.
This is just so typical with them. Yeah, it was a protest flyover. This is so typical of what the Democrat media does and how they're. I mean, it was so bad. But I will say that somewhere in the middle of that last night, I think that the CNN finally, I know Wednesday, the night before or Wednesday night, they started to get the message that what's been going on in the country is really backfiring on them because the polls, they're looking at the polls and they're using the polls as an excuse. But that's really not what's going on. What's really going on is the country is starting to fight back. We've been, that silent majority is starting to be no longer silent. And they actually got a good taste of what's been going on Thursday night when someone like Ann Dorn came on. And I noticed that CNN shut up after her. They used to break away during the commercials to badmouth the president and say everyone's lying.
Well, they also had a fact check. They fact checked
the fake fact check.
McKenna, the poor sweet press secretary who went on during the convention and revealed that she had a double mastectomy, which is because she has the rare gene that has that could kill her instantly with breast cancer, and so she made that awful choice. And so I'm sure they were fact checking her. I'm sure the bearded lady and company were fact checking her to whether she had, whether she was even a woman, because that's how crazy they are to try and destroy the narrative. Interestingly enough, James, I don't know if Ken Matthews made a great point. He's a Pennsylvania guy, and he makes a great point that in the WikiLeaks dump, when they the WikiLeaks dump, it revealed good old. Remember, Podesta. This is back during the 216 campaign with
Right.
With good old Podesta, pedophile. We can say that because his brother's a pedophile, and if they want to come after us, we're going to get all the emails between him and his brother. But back then, when the Hillary campaign was just gearing up, and Donald came down the escalator, the WikiLeaks leaks point out that he was scoring high with women and and African Americans. And so from the very beginning, they said, well, we have to change that with propaganda, because of course, he'd been on the press. Remember, it was a shock to Donald that people didn't love him, because of course he'd had a great career. He's never been a racist ever. And everybody loves him from Herschel Walker on up. But they deliberately targeted the propaganda. So when Jake the Creep Tapper, that little man-child, starts talking about, well, people believe this, well, that's because they've had the unrelenting last 4 years of this propaganda that he's a racist, he's a misogynist, and that he doesn't like immigrants. And that's what it's not a news. It's not journalism. It's not news. We miscall it that when it is. They are not the news. They are just the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, they're just Democrat creeps. That's all they are. That's what they practice at being. So, so we should talk about the convention. It was very well done, I thought, from a standpoint, from a technical standpoint. Now, just talking about not what people said, but how it was relayed to us. I thought it was done very well. The difference between the way they had the microphones that could pick up the speakers no matter what, it was almost like the microphone was a prop. Somehow they were able to pick up the person speaking at the podium much better. I thought that went much better than having a bunch of in-home visits per se, having these, showing us their rich houses, like the
what,
oppressed,
Jamie? That's what we do.
Well, no, the oppressed. Yeah, John, we have rich houses. I got an orange background, right? Or yellow-orange background.
You got a paradise up there at Fort Independence.
No, you're right. But my point is, $13 million rich woman who's oppressed. We saw the inside of her house. We saw the inside of many places of people's houses, and it was really, it kind of was disjointed. It wasn't seeming professional. I thought that the Republican National Convention put on a very professional show. I thought it was technically sound. I thought it was technically good. I didn't catch one blip in it, from the point of where people came on the screen to where they went off screen. So from a technical aspect, they really held it together. And I got to say, the fireworks display at the end, fabulous. If there was any problem whatsoever, it was the protesters outside the White House on the last night. They should have had a stronger police presence, but I put that on the Democrat mayor for being ignorant enough to think that there wasn't going to be a problem.
Did you hear them? I heard them in his acceptance speech.
Yeah, I heard them. They were there.
And he should have stopped and said, not for nothing, but do you see how despicable these creeps are? You see how they're not even liberals? They're just leftist control nuts.
It's exactly
that's what he should have stopped and said. But I was, why I thought this was the best I've ever seen, because these conventions, you see idiot politician after idiot politician. So it's literally nothing but governor, then senator, then moron governor, then more, and they're all the party apparatchiks, right? And that's what it is. And we're supposed to sit there while they go on blah blah blah, never saying anything. This is the first time it's been a convention about the people that actually, Trumpy's been helping, the good work that he's been doing as he fulfills his promises. And these are amazing people. I've never heard Herschel Walker speak before. He's amazing.
It's really a contrast between what the Democrats did, which was have the elites of their party on display, and what the Republicans did is have the ordinary average person who's been impacted and had their life changed over the last 4 years. This is the big difference. Elites versus the common person.
They did have John Kerry. He served in Vietnam. We didn't have that.
Yeah, no. I mean, for the elites on the Democrat side versus the ordinary average American on the Republican side. That's what the difference was. And they weren't afraid to have the ordinary average American speak, because Republicans trust the ordinary average American, where Democrats, they're afraid of them. They don't want them. And
Well,
speaking,
let's do, for a second there, James. The average American is a person of merit.
Mhm.
Okay, politician is by definition a person who does nothing.
Right.
That's the way it's supposed to be in our system. So when we have these normal people on, these are just, I mean, you could, and you know, I'm sure you could just grab people randomly, say, you know what, you're going to do some time in front of the whole national audience. What do you want to talk about? And that's who they got. They said, well, these are their you know, your conversation is a life, your life is a conversation with God. These are the passions that they've been following, whether it's the nun or whether it's Coach Holtz. These are the tough lessons he learned about life that he transmits to us from his profession. You know, a Notre Dame coach, right? So these are average Americans. These when we say they're the average Americans, they are really, this is what they're terrified of, because these fake elites, they're terrified of the merit. This is America is a merit society, and that's what they're terrified. It's a hierarchy based on merit. It's a lie that they tell that yes, there are some people that get ahead because they're fourth generation trust fund baby, but most of them aren't. Most of them get ahead. Most people in America are people who get where they get by doing hard work, because hard work wins, as as Don Lorenzo tells us again and again.
So speaking of which, brother, I have, let's go to our first clip we have, because we're 15 minutes into the show.
Hit the
Maximo's our first clip.
Keep in mind, the other guy running for president is mostly concerned about power. Yes, power for them, but not for the benefit of all Americans. Right now, it is up to us to decide our fate and to choose freedom over oppression. President Trump, he's fighting the forces of anarchy and communism. And I know he will continue to do just that. I choose President Trump because I choose America. I choose freedom. I still hear my dad. There is no other place to go. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless America.
I think that's a very telling statement there, brother. I think right there you see what you were talking about. Someone who has merit. He's earned his way in this country, and he came here legally because he was running away from Castro. And this is a real story. One of those real stories that affects us. I know Laura Ingraham, for example. I saw on her response to this was like, this is true America. So I have one more before we discuss. If you'll bear with me a moment, brother. I will.
Oh, I'm supposed to talk now.
Just for 1 minute.
No, he's the best.
No need. I got it.
With him. As I slept, looters were ransacking the shop. They shot and killed David in cold blood, and then live streamed his execution and his last moments on earth. David's grandson was watching the video on Facebook in real time, not realizing he was watching his own grandfather dying on the sidewalk. I learned of all this around 4 a.m. when our doorbell rang. The chief of police was standing outside. I wondered why Dave had not answered the door. It wasn't uncommon for him to be up watching TV at this time. I called out to him several times. There was no reply. He just wasn't there. I let in the chief. Fighting back tears, he uttered the words every officer's spouse dreads. I relive that horror in my mind every single day. My hope is that having you relive it with me now will help shake this country from this nightmare we are witnessing in our cities and bring about positive, peaceful change. How did we get to this point? where so many young people are callous and indifferent towards human life. This isn't a video game where you can commit mayhem and then just hit reset and bring all the characters back to life. David is never coming back to me. He was murdered by people who didn't know and just didn't care. He would have done anything to help them. Violence and destruction are not legitimate forms of protest. They do not safeguard Black lives. They only destroy them.
I think after watching that particular video, that's Ann Dorn, by the way. It's her husband was David Dorn, who I should describe was assassinated right there on live TV, live stream. After watching this, John, after watching her, how can anybody say what's going on? I think this is the point at which we see the silent majority say enough is enough. This is where people start standing up to the mob at any cost, because we can't let this continue. And I hate to say, this is going to, she's asking for people not to be violent, but I mean, they're destroying homes. I mean, we just posted out today that there used to be a time when you drag somebody from your car, that was considered a crime. When you beat them half to death, that was considered a crime. Nowadays, it's not. It's just an ordinary night in the Democrat-controlled cities. That's all that is right now. And this is the despicable part that we're facing in our country today. We're facing the Democrat-run cities that are just callously allowing these rioters these pretend protesters to go out there and destroy their cities, and destroy and burn down, loot and kill and murder, maim their residents. And this is unacceptable. And you can hear it. I was reading something from the Federalist today. Kenosha, and we'll talk more about that later, but the people in the city of Kenosha are saying the looters and these rioters are not from our town. We wouldn't do this to our town. In fact, there's clear evidence that there are a lot of out-of-towners coming in from Chicago and other places.
James, I think you're right. I think you hit it, that this is an inflection point. That this particularly, her testimony and the killing of this, this Black police chief, who, I guess some Black lives just don't matter, right? But I really think you were correct. It is an inflection point. But remember, we're old enough. We were in this game. Remember, we predate the Tea Party. Remember when the Tea Party came around? And I remember walking through Tea Party protests and thinking, oh, these poor, sweet, benighted souls, they don't know how this works. And it was, but they would clean up after themselves. And then I remember the Occupy Wall Street. I walked past it. I have to walk through Occupy Wall Street again and again. They were out in front of a idiot mayor, do nothing nutter. And I thought it was the best thing in the world. Here they were there all the time. Give the kids something to do. They could smoke their patchouli. They you walk by them, you got to duck over them, and that's a protest too. Even though there was some questions about who was funding it, but she asked the salient point: how did we come to this point? These are not protests. Okay, this is not a legitimate protesting. This is literally the attempt from the Democrat to incite violence, to rule through terror. And I think we should get it on, because I just saw a great thing. It's literally Jefferson versus Saint-Just. Okay, it's literally the American Revolution and the American way versus the French Revolution and the reign of terror. And how she asked this question: how did we get here? We got here because a bunch of money from Soros and the big corporations and the Democratic Party are in league to stop the one guy who's threatening their control. And
it's worse than just threatening, President Trump. It's worse than just that. What they're doing is they're overloading the systems in these towns, in these cities, so that the police can only be in so many places. And where do they first protect, John? When somebody's attacking, the police always protect home base. They protect the police station. They also protect the courts. the state buildings, the city buildings. They protect those areas.
Their houses, the houses of the mayor of Chicago.
Right. And meaning, what are they not protecting? The regular, ordinary citizens. So we, what was going on in Kenosha, exactly what happened in Kenosha is the police couldn't go out.
Are we switching over to that now, or
not yet? But the police could. And I'm pointing back to the Federalist Papers because the guy pointed out that this is meant to overwhelm the system. Going back to our Clove and Piven discussion, where you overload the system so that society breaks down. They're trying to break it down inside the cities so that they can riot and do whatever they want and destroy and put fear into the ordinary citizen. So, we'll talk more about that in a few minutes, but that is something that is clear is going on. They're trying to break the system so that the ordinary citizen lives in fear. And the only person right now, the person who is the target of their animosity, the one barrier we have, which we can call stop to, is President Trump. And that's why we need to support him. And we also need to get a good, strong Congress in there, too. We need to elect good congressmen that are going to stand with the president. That's the bottom line. If we don't do that, we can kiss it goodbye. We're gonna slowly slide down further.
As Maximo says, we have no place to run to. We could try and move to Missouri, but that's not going to help us. We can move to Australia, but it's already socialist there already. There's no place else to go. We don't have a wormhole to get to another planet. So it's fight and live on this hill or else.
Right. So here's Jim Jordan. His
Hey, did nobody could buy this guy a suit? Not even for the president.
Who, Jim Jordan? Yeah, no.
Nobody can get him a suit. He doesn't have a jacket. What's this poor guy?
This is his shtick. I mean, he is more of an ordinary guy than I guess the rest of them.
Not even for the. Did he show up to the inauguration like that? I just want to know. Does he go in front of Congress like that?
Congressman Jim Jordan, representing the 4th District of Ohio. The Republican Party is the pro-America party. President Trump is the pro-America candidate. This election is about who can preserve the values, principles, and institutions that make America great. Don't believe me? Look at what's happening in American cities. Cities all run by Democrats. Crime, violence, and mob rule. Democrats refuse to denounce the mob, and their response to the chaos: defund the police, defund Border Patrol, and defund our military. And while they're doing all this, they're also trying to take away your guns. Look at the positions they've taken in the past few months. Democrats won't let you go to church, but they'll let you protest. Democrats won't let you go to work, but they'll let you riot. And Democrats won't let you go to school, but they'll let you go loot. President Trump has fought against each of their crazy ideas. He's taken on the swamp, all of the swamp, the Democrats, the press, and the never-Trumpers. And when you take on the swamp fights back. They tried the Russia hoax, the Mueller investigation, and the fake impeachment. But in spite of this unbelievable opposition, this president has done what he said he would do. Taxes cut, regulations reduced, economy growing, lowest unemployment in 50 years, out of the Iran deal, embassy in Jerusalem, hostages home from North Korea, a new USMCA agreement, and of course, he's building the wall and rebuilding our economy as we speak. I love the president's intensity and his willingness to fight every day in Washington for our families.
There you have it, brother.
All right, you got time for one more, maybe? Like you get time for the coach?
We can do the coach. I just want to point out one thing I'll add to what Jim Jordan said. He said about what they're not letting us do. The Democrats are not letting us vote in person either, especially in the state of New Jersey, not letting you vote in person. Yet the governor is still encouraging teachers to go out and for schools to open, which as a teacher, I completely agree with. I'm going back. I'm glad to go back. I'm not going to sit there and live in fear. So I completely endorse the idea as a teacher to go back to school and to do it, normal schedule if possible. But I will say that they're allowing the science doesn't add up. If you're allowing people to go back to school and to be in that close proximity to students and teachers and such, then you should be able to be allowed to vote. If you can go wait in line at the Walmart and the ShopRite, if you can wait in line at the Piggly Wiggly, if you can wait online at any of these stores, the DMV, anything like that, then you should be able to wait online to go vote, because that is actually one of the rights that's enumerated in the Constitution, your right to vote. So I think that we should, this is part of the game that they're playing to shut us down. We've talked about that before, so I won't go into it. We actually have a couple more we could talk about, John.
Well, we have time.
Well, right now we're at 30 minutes, so
Yes.
we'll do one more. And like I said, all the ones that I cut, I will be putting up on YouTube, and I will be sharing them on Facebook. So if we don't get to a particular one tonight, we do have one on Kim. We have one on Kim Clackett. We have one on sister. I can't remember her last name, but she was a former military, and then she became a sister from the Little Sisters. And we have Getz. Matt Getz and a couple others. So we can, and really great solid speakers. Vernon Jones, the Democrat who spoke. Oops, that's not going to work. I screwed that up. Hold on. I forgot to click the audio. So yeah, we have that. We have a bunch of them. They'll be up on Facebook and YouTube tomorrow. Here you go, brother.
But there are people today, like politicians, professors, protesters, and of course, President Trump's naysayers in the media who like to blame others for problems. They don't have pride in our country. And because they no longer ask, what can I do for my country? Only what the country should be doing for them. They don't have pride in themselves. That's wrong. When I was an officer in the Army, I served with so many great Americans who embrace their responsibility to our country. I'm so proud of their sacrifices and the opportunity it has provided for so many millions. America remains a land of opportunity, no matter what the other side says or believes.
You see that phrase he used?
One of the important reasons he has my trust is because nobody has been a stronger advocate for the unborn than President Trump. The Biden-Harris ticket is the most radically pro-abortion campaign in history. They and other politicians are Catholics in name only and abandon innocent lives. President Trump protects those lives. I trust President Trump.
There you go, brother. That's Lou Holtz. I do want to. I know. I before you talk about that, because his last bit, her sister Dee Dee Burns is the one who spoke, and her searing indictment of the Democrats, I think, is important for us to play. I know we're over time, but if I can find it quickly here, I think it's well worth hearing. Let's see this. Maybe there it is.
So she's doing it on live.
Yeah, she is. If I can get it to work right, we'll try that.
Of the marginalized as living beyond our borders, the truth is the largest marginalized group in the world can be found here in the United States. They are the unborn. As Christians, we first met Jesus as a stirring embryo in the womb of an unwed mother and saw him born 9 months later in the poverty of the cave. It's no coincidence that Jesus stood up for what was just and was ultimately crucified because what he said wasn't politically correct or fashionable. President Trump will stand up against Biden-Harris, who are the most anti-life presidential ticket ever, even supporting the horrors of late-term abortion and infanticide.
So there you have it, brother. She did a great job, I thought, of pointing out what's that phrase that you and I use about being for the smallest guy in the room, smallest kid in the room.
Yeah, I'm on the side of the smallest guy in the room.
Yeah,
Damn the dog.
She did. The Democrats have marginalized a lot of people out there. They've complained about marginalizing a lot of people out there, but they always seem to miss the baby, the infant in the womb, the child in the womb. They seem to always miss that little being which they have marginalized. And I think that this is a point that Trump, a lot of politicians and political strategists will tell you, stay away from the third rail of politics. which is the abortion, and Second Amendment. But I say, and you say it too, because we've been saying it for years. No, you need to dive in. It's actually one of the reasons why our culture has been so shot to hell, is because we haven't been fighting back on these key issues, and we need to stand up for these key issues, because a baby's life is a baby's life is a baby's life.
Black babies' lives matter.
Yeah, and
it's 19 million missing.
And it's telling in
18 to 20 million.
It's telling in all the different aspects of what happens in Planned Parenthood. And I didn't put her on there, but the young woman who they did that movie. I can't remember the movie. I can't remember her name, but she was key in bringing to light the kind of things that have been going on in these abortion clinics, and why they are so bad and they're so terrible. So I think this is a key point for us to recognize. This isn't a battle for just our country. This is a battle for our culture. This is a battle for our streets. This is a battle for our cities. This is a battle for our families. And we're losing that battle if we lose the White House and we lose Congress. So it's very important that we get a lot of people out there. And I'm glad to see that the RNC destroyed the DNC's convention with the ratings, because there's 128 million versus like 28 million or something ridiculous number. Low number, 26 million of the Democrats. So it was a significant success. So that's all I have for you on the RNC, brother.
Well, wait.
Your turn now.
Lou Holtz said that one phrase, which it rings through my mind, of course, because he's really paraphrasing, JFK, John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country, which of course was completely stolen from Voltaire. But ask not what history can do for you. Ask what you can do for history, right? But he paraphrases it, and he points it out in such a brilliantly simple but beautiful way. He said it. These people they ask, well, what's in it for me, instead of what can they do for other people, and that's that core of the Democrat, what used to be the Democrat Party, has now shifted. And it's now been captured like lightning by Trump. Those are the people who answer the people who answered to that back in 1960 and voted for JFK and have answered it throughout time in America. That wonderful encapsulation. They are now all behind Trump. And that's why the so-called white middle class, worker class, has moved over to the Trump. And I think he said it. If there was one line that came out of besides Maximo's great line, "There's no place to run," not to Missouri, not to anywhere. That line, I think, really is the spirit of Trump's Republican. This is his party now. This is his party, and that I think is the spirit of Trump's Republican Party. Bye bye neocons.
Right. No, and that's
George Will.
That's exactly a great point, brother. These people need to go. So we're going to now switch. The neocons definitely need to go. We're going to switch to talk about Kenosha. Now, just do you want to do a little? Do you want to discuss it first, or do you want to?
Yes, I'll give you the breakdown while you get the video ready. All right,
video's ready. Video's ready to go.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give you the quick breakdown then. All right, here's the people involved. There's the kid. Actually, he's 17 years old, so he should be referred to as KR, even though they directly filed for him as an adult, because any competent attorney should try and remove him back to being a juvenile. Right. But we would call him KR, but we'll just call him the kid. The Army of One. KR.
Call of Duty champion.
Right. Call of Duty champion of the year. Right. Now there's a kid. There's Joseph Rosenbaum, who, guess what, is a registered sex offender. He is a 2K. He pled guilty to 2 counts in 2002 of sexual contact with a minor. 2014 conviction for interference with minor. Now he had 40 violations. This was actually on the Wisconsin website because he's registered sex offender, pedophile. But it was also taken down because he died. But it's over on the Arizona website. Even still. Now, interesting enough, I call him Antifa because one of the early videos shows some random African American guy referring to him as, "Oh, look, Antifa." Okay, so now he's the first casualty. Okay, first quote fake victim. All right. Then after that is Anthony Huber.
Do you want to? I have some of the. First of all, before you go any further, I do
I'm
have.
going to go through the whole list of people so we know who we're talking about.
Well, I have. Here's. If you can see it, Rosenbaum. That's his shot from the sex offender registry before it was taken down.
Before it was taken down.
Yep, and you can see how he's highlighted there.
Okay, then there's Anthony Huber, who's the second fatality. He's in the videos. He's the stomper. He's the African American guy. It looks like he was just a random hanger-on, but because he was in a mob and the kid ran, and that's the mistake that triggered the mob. He's in on the chase, and he goes up in the air and then comes down. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But when he gets shot, he's the one that gets shot through the heart and then dies. Then there's this interesting character, Gage Grosskreutz. He's the other one who gets shot. And he is the handgunner. He's the handgunner assaulter. He's coming in with the mob. The 6 to 8 assailants chasing him down, has a handgun clearly in his hand, and he's the one who gets shot through the arm. Now, there's another guy, Richard McGinnis.
This is that guy, by the way. There's his wound. You can
there's
see
six. Right. There's six. There's Richard McGinnis. There's 6 counts against the kid, and one of them is for recklessly endangering him. 2 murder counts, and one of them. I think Richard McGinnis, if I time this all right, is some kind of like a Daily Caller reporter who was like following it or watching the Rosenbaum initially. He's actually he's interviewed and he's in the affidavit referred to. And here's the thing: he completely exonerates of the kid. He was on the scene for the first part of the incident, and he's saying that the the Antifa pedophile was the aggressor. He was the one trying to grab the gun. Now that's a big problem for the police. We'll get to in a second. Then there's the mob. Okay, so the mob consists of white t-shirt coward who takes a punch at him from the back of the head. These are the people chasing him. Skateboard creep. This is a guy who swings at least twice with a skateboard. I think it's misnamed in the affidavit that Anthony Huber is the skateboarder. I think this guy is. And then there's the stomper Anthony Hubert. And then there's the Black Lives Matter guy. Now, Black Lives Matter guy is all dressed in black, completely in black, and he's carrying some kind of baseball bat or stick. He should have been shot and killed, but he because the kid is not a racist, he didn't shoot him. He doesn't put his hands up. And then, of course, there's the hippie guy. He's the guy who puts his hands up and stands there about 5 feet from the kid, and the kid doesn't shoot him. Again, showing his peaceful intention, and he's just defending himself. He with his hands up like this. He's got like long dreadlocks. He looks like he was just. The crowd runs by him, and then again, when you cannot run from a mob because he sees this, it like triggers an attack response in him, and he's running in with the mob. Then there might be a couple more, including the so-called medic. Now, this is the guy who was injured. That's a very strange character. Now, one of the videos you can see him. He's there with like a quote press guy. So I call him Antifa because he's dressed in black and he's got the shorts on, and he's also like he's got the uniform. He's got the backpack. He's got a tourniquet on there too, right? So he is also carrying a gun, Magnum style, in his behind his shirt. Now, in the first. One of the grainy video that's on there that you can see of him running, following in the last wave of it, he pulls some object from his back, and then in the other videos you can see clearly it's a gun, and he's standing over the kid. All right, so that's the people involved. Now there's all kinds of video. So what we know from the video is that number one, the kid was out there earlier. He was taking off graffiti. He's washing down graffiti. He says in the earlier videos that he was asked to be there because there was an auto garage owner that asked him to be there. It's a place he worked when it was open, and he was there to defend it. Also, very interesting enough, too, there's a lot of early video of this freaking mob. Now, there was a line of militia guys that were also in the area. Apparently, there's an early video of the Rosenbaum, the Antifa pedophile, who, with a bunch of his other buddies, had gotten a rolling dumpster, and they set this dumpster on fire, right? And it looks like the initial thing that allowed him, that made him target the kid was that it's in two of the one of the videos. The kid has a fire extinguisher, and in another video, somebody puts out. They got this rolling fire near a gas station. A bunch of morons. And it looks like they're going to plan that's
what their plan was, John. Their plan was
send it into the police. Well, the kid runs by and extinguishes it, of course, because he's not an arsonist. He's not trying to destroy this place. He's like this morons, and that apparently is what triggers the Antifa pedophile to start targeting the kid. The kid gets isolated. The kid runs. Then according to McGinnis, the government's witness and one of the counts, he's one of the quote victims in the accounts. He then grabs the Antifa pedophile, grabs for the gun, and the gun goes off, shooting him in the groin and in the hip, breaking his hip, and in the liver, and a grazing shot in his head. So then the kid. Then that's, I believe in the video, is McGinnis going in to treat the down Antifa pedophile, and then the kid he only gets about from that scene about a block and a half to where the full mob is completely chasing him. He's jogging, and that triggers the rest of the mob. This mob mentality. So this is
Before you finish, let me catch you up on. I have the video where you have Rosenbaum saying those things. It's a little graphic, but keep up if you can. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
You can see him. You can see him coming up in the red shirt. That's him right there with him pointing with a black pocket. That's him. He's yelling, "Shoot me, N-word. Shoot me, N-word." And then, you can see he's clearly agitated, clearly starting problems with the crowd. That's him right there. That's the guy who was shot in the head with the 4 rounds from 4 rounds.
Well, it was a grazing round in the head. There's a medical report. It's a quick medical report. Usually murder trials take a year for a reason, because all the facts have to come in, all the evidence has to come in. This is all prelim, except for what we've been able to find so far. But
you can see him in the background here. There he is, right there. He's obviously aggressing towards people as he approaches. He's yelling at him. That's the bag that he's going to be throwing at the kid.
It might have been with a brick, because it's a lot heavier than an empty bottle.
Molotov cocktails. Somebody said it was.
They said, but I saw also that it looked heavy. So it's not they're trying to say it was just a bottle in there.
See, there he is shoving a match with he just got in a shoving match with the guys with the gun. So he's clearly not impressed by anybody who's owning a gun. So he's not
looking for trouble.
He's not trying to avoid trouble. He's looking for trouble. Whereas one of the videos that he's just picked up the bag. One of the videos that is out there is of Kyle, like you said, talking to people and actually going around. He said he was a medic. He went around. He was going around asking people if they needed help. That the McGinnis guy was following him, and he actually was able to video him, the kid helping a woman out who had hurt her leg, and he's going around saying he's an EMT. He's got his medic bag, which he had at the time of the shooting, and it's clear that his intention to be in Kenosha was in fact peaceful. He was trying to keep the peace, and this gets back to our discussion before about the police being forced to monitor and take care of the government buildings and not being able to be everywhere to keep the riots under control. And these were riots, John. This was escalating. This is why you had armed citizens out in front of your businesses. This is something that the people of Kenosha are saying they had to do. They stand in front of their businesses to protect it. This is what the mobs do. They are trying to force people to get into these situations where you have to make the tough choice, because we don't want to kill anybody. We don't want to shoot people. But the reality is, you put them in that situation, they hesitate. It can be a bloodbath real quick. And,
here's the thing. It's not being reported in the news, but they have this. It used to be called in the day rat packing. flash mob was recently, but it's a mob, mobs of youth, mobs of these bad actors out there, and they're doing it all over the place. And they're attacking like white individual here, strip him of his clothes. When he's unconscious on the ground, they run their bikes over him. They hit him with, if they have flower pots, they throw him on his head. This is happening all over America. These mobs are allowed to do this carnage, and of course they film it because they think it's funny and cool to do this, and it's being done unanswered. Now, round 2 of AR-15 versus the mob. Then,
do you want to watch the videos? Do you want to put maybe we can go through the videos and you can discuss it. So here's this video. Here is this is one scene. This actually contains both angles of this incident where the kid is being chased. You can see there's the kid right there. Where the mouse is pointing. Can you see that? That's the kid. This is his pursuer. What you're missing in this is the bag that Rosenbaum was holding has already been thrown.
He's already thrown it at the kid.
He's already thrown it at the kid. But you'll see that from a different angle in this video because this covers both of them. And there's some writing. You'll also see the second gun being fired that turns, not in this particular version of it. But
it looks like somebody shoots up or like a warning shot. Somehow, one of the other guys.
So the kid turns around. This is slow-mo. Turns around. Boom, boom, boom. That's McGinnis right there, where the mouse is pointing. And McGinnis goes in to render aid.
Yeah, he's on the scene, and he completely exonerates the kid.
So this is the next parts. You can see the handgun muzzle over there, right?
The first shot, and then there's the 7, 4, and 3 from the kid.
Yeah, so over here again, there's the handgun shot. That's the Rosenbaum chasing him, and there's the kid. Same scene, just from the full view. There's the kid again, and he's making the phone call.
Now, if somebody grabs the gun and it goes off because he's grabbing the gun and aggressing at somebody. Now, this seems to be lost too. This guy is a registered sex offender. Therefore, he is not allowed to have any gun. So the moment he grabbed that gun, he was in violation of the law. Now, they keep trying to say that the kid, because he was under 18, didn't have a right to gun. Although we send guys like that, we send them off to every war we've ever had because they're 17. But they keep saying that he isn't because he's not allowed to have that gun. Well, wait a minute. How about the registered sex offender grabbing a gun? How about he's not allowed to argue, I'm allowed to do this
the story of the media, the Democrat media is trying to say.
Right. So he grabs a gun. Now, if a registered sex offender is grabbing a gun and then he gets shot in the groin, all right, that's you. How do you parlay that into first degree intentional murder? You can't. It's not even close.
More importantly, because he did, we're assuming that the kid didn't know he was a sex offender, but what he did know is that every evidence that Rosenbaum has shown to this point is aggressor, wanting to cause trouble, wanting to be violent, and he's already shoved and tried to shove past the group of guys who were armed and pushing back against him. So he's already shown evil intent. That's he's already shown the evil intent without even knowing. He's
already assaulted him with the bag. He's already physically trying to grab his gun and assault him further.
So
all right, so they're ready for so then angle. Kyle. I'm sorry. Then
this is a different angle here from the same incident. You'll see Kyle running down.
So the orders, cameras, them is white boys.
So there's Kyle. Right there. That's Kyle.
And that's where the guy calls him Antifa.
Yeah, this is the Rosenbaum character who's about to throw his bag. Threw his bag, hit the kid. So ignore what you're seeing or the writing because it's not really accurate. There's the kid putting the rounds into the sex offender, and so they're in hiding. So you can see You can see where it is. They're going to break it down again in much slower motion.
So it looks like he's trying to get away.
It's clear
he's retreating as much as he can. He circles the car.
He is running as fast as he can to get away from this. And
from the guy
from Rosenbaum, the guy who had already assaulted him and was firing at him. So you know,
wasn't firing at him,
or I mean, was throwing something at him. He threw something at him. My mistake. So that's that video. For
that was AR-15 versus Mob Part 1. Are we ready for AR-15 versus Mob Part 2?
Yeah, give me 1 second to grab it up here. And you can see clearly though that the kid was under threat. You can see clearly he was under threat. So this has some graphicness to it. So I want to warn everybody out there, there's a lot more graphicness in this video. So this is after the shooting of the Rosenbaum, and he has made a phone call. He recognized the threat coming his way with the mob, and he is now still on the run, trying to get away. And this is the kid right here. There's his EMT bag, and he is headed down this way. You're going to see some other actors coming into the show. So this kid tries to knock him in the head.
Right. This is white T-shirt coward guy who tries to punch him in the back of the head.
Yeah, with a roundhouse that's completely wide.
Right.
So he's down. Kyle's down now. Kyle's
now in the other video, you can see what happened is skateboarder creep comes in and takes a swing too.
He's going
and then
to.
Comes off.
He's going to come from skateboarder kid's going to come from the side here.
Well, he gets 2 shots. He's already missed once. So it looks like Kyle, when I zabrooted this, it looks like, the kid.
Here's the skateboarder kid right here. He's going to hit him with the skateboarder.
That's it. This is his second go around with him. He hits him.
He
hits him then with the skateboard.
Yeah.
And here's Huber going up.
So Huber's down now. Huber's down.
Right.
He's dying.
So when I zabrooted this, what happens is one of the lies they say out there is that the kid tripped. No, he didn't trip. He was looking over his shoulder at the white coward with the white T-shirt with the roundhouse, sees him and kind of like ducks. Skateboarder comes in and does connect or doesn't connect, but he's also ducking. From that, he trips. So, but for the actions of this mob of 6 to 7 or 8 assailants, he would not have tripped. So he did not trip. They caused him to trip, taking shots at him. So he goes down. When he goes down, that's when Huber, hot on his tails, takes a step out and does one of these jump ups to come down. Now the kid is down and is flipped over and is trying to get to his feet. You know, as he's rolling up, turning over, the gun he's now like sitting. Huber is trying to stop him, comes down on him, and it's hard to see. We'd have to blow it up and go super slow to see whether it's the fact that Huber is coming down on him that fires the gun, or whether the kid did it intentionally. Either or, he is literally being stomped and assaulted by the 3rd or 4th member of this mob attacking him. Complete self-defense. Complete self-defense.
And he's unable at this point to get away. There's no avenue for him to escape. So even if you live in a state like New Jersey where it's a must-flee state, he can't flee. He's on the ground.
He is fleeing, and he's knocked to the ground. Anymore. He's been knocked to the ground by multiple assailants at this point. So then he
has to stand his ground here, or he's going to die.
Now, then the second wave, the back wave of this comes up, and the video gets really good. Do you have the video of that? I mean, high quality, in which you can see the Antifa, quote, medic.
There he is. He just got it.
Right.
He just got it.
Now, where he gets shot in the arm. Again, the kid is on his butt, rolled over.
He just got hit again. And you can see the kid sitting up. There's the Antifa medic who's going to run off and yell for help. And there's
who's carrying a tourniquet. He's good enough to it's lucky enough that he's carrying his own tourniquet.
Right, right. And you got the kid you mentioned, the guy you mentioned who had his hands up, backing away from the scene.
Hippie guy with like dread,
Who he
hippie guy
didn't
with
shoot.
hands up.
Yeah. So I mean,
And
we
right
can,
off to the right, if you can see, that's Black Lives Matter carrying a baseball bat, who's
Yep.
now off to the side, cowardly skulking in the dark,
right.
who should have been shot. He had every right to shoot him. Hands up, fine, don't shoot him. But the guy carrying a baseball bat, drop it or you're done. You're in a mob.
Now, this shooting you can hear is not the kid. It is somebody else shooting, but it is not the kid.
But he's
There's
backing
no muzzle,
up.
There's no muzzle flashes going off from his AR.
All right. Okay, and then
And you
the
can
mob
see
gets the
Kyle-
idea.
You can see Kyle or the kid goes down the road and tries
To the police, which he's trying to get to.
Yep.
And he has his hands up, and he is following the law. He goes off to the side, and see there goes the gas station. There goes a gas station, but I don't think it was the original one. But he only got about a block and a half, so this is really all one incident. Now the police. This is where he's actually well represented. He made it back home to Michigan. He's well represented. He's represented by I have his attorney. I have his attorney's statement here, but also by one the attorney who represented Sandman, the kid Sandman, the young man involved with the MAGA hat and the fake Indian, who doesn't live in a teepee, and wants to bang a drum and assault young kids.
It's okay, yeah.
So Sandman's lawyer is on it with another attorney. This attorney's name is John Pierce of Pierce Bainbridge, and he put out a statement. It's a pretty good statement, saying a 17-year-old should not have to take up arms in America to protect life and property. That is the job of state and local governments. However, those governments have failed, and law-abiding citizens have no choice but to protect their own communities, as their forefathers did at Lexington and Concord in 1775. Kyle is not a racist or a white supremacist. He's a brave, patriotic, compassionate, law-abiding American who loves his country and his community. He did nothing wrong. He defended himself, which is a fundamental right of all Americans given by God and protected by law. He is now in the crosshairs of institutional forces, and I want to talk about that in a second, institutional forces that are much more powerful than him. But he will stand up to them and fight not only for himself, but for all Americans and their beloved Constitution. We will never leave his side until he is victorious in that fight. So there's a hearing coming up on September 25. If they're smart, they resist the governor's warrant for extradition until past the election. But I want to talk about that institutional forces, because basically that's a great defensive statement, but it's not enough. All right. Now, interesting enough, did anybody check to see if good old Antifa medic has a concealed carry permit, this so-called victim? Because if he wasn't charged, he's carrying a gun in the middle of a riot. Did anybody prosecute the arsonist, the fellow arsonist, this mob of arsonists setting a fire in a rolling dumpster, trying to attempt to assault police or blow up the community, blow up a gas station? Did anybody? And how about this? They were all violating curfew. Did anybody else get charged? How come this district attorney and these police officers, these detectives, they don't charge the police officer who shot the guy in the back 7 times? And that's fine. Let due process play stuff out. Get the dash cam. Get all the side videos you can. Put it out there. Measure everything out and see. Let due process work. But then they rush and they charge this kid after. And here's the thing. They can try and pretend that McGinnis didn't say what he did all they want. But the exonerating statements that he made on the scene, obviously to the detective, and he kept making about the Antifa pedophile and how he started it, and the video, they have a duty to pursue justice. Part of the problem is this: they're never held accountable. And now what you have is these governors, these mayors of these Democrats that are pulling back, and they're doing it for a reason. Just like with the McCloskey case that we covered a little while ago. They want to persecute and punish the people who defend themselves, because when they do that, they're doing 2 things. They're waving a red flag to the mob to continue their terror, and they're sending a signal to each one of us. Now, with the AG, if he had any guts, and I'm not a fan of Barr for this reason. What he should be doing is sending his boys in to go talk to these so-called detectives and these so-called district attorney who want to prosecute on the basis of this, and haven't prosecuted the guy carrying a concealed weapon, and haven't prosecuted any of the people setting fires, and haven't prosecuted any people rioting and trying to assault the police. Now, if you don't do that, then the institution gets away with it. What we're seeing now, for the first time in American history, really, other than the Civil War, is the institutional government being weaponized and used against the citizens of this state. And if there's not a price to pay for that, they will continue to do it, and it will get worse and worse. That's why, this the good old Shokin, the guy who got it to start, this police officer there had something like 18 complaints against him. So now we know they were all right. If there are 18 complaints, that means there was 100 people who thought about complaining and probably didn't, or maybe 1,000 people. And that means there are people who didn't even complain. How come nobody's going back to each one of them and saying, you know what, you were right, we were wrong, right? But at least there was a record of complaints. The problem is there's no way to really get these prosecutors and the judges who let this nonsense go on, and that's what needs to be prosecuted too. And there has to be a price to be paid by the governors, because here's the thing: technically, they are involved in a conspiracy, and the conspiracy they're involved in is to recklessly endanger everybody who isn't on their side, and that's what they do when they don't prosecute the police officer. Fine, due process is working, but they can't then turn around and immediately prosecute this kid for defending himself in the face of every bit of evidence that shows that he did everything right. He is completely blameless and was just trying to help out. I'm supposed to feel bad that a pedophile got shot in the groin and died. Oh, I feel so bad. Look, air quote, bad.
Well, John, I got to tell you, the thing about Gage, if you see the report here, they point out that he is, in fact, and I know it's a little hard to see for you, but Gage was a convicted felon of burglary, and he had an illegal handgun on his possession.
Why isn't he in jail? The defense for that, every day I have to talk to people and talk to them about pleading guilty and serving 4 to 5 years in jail for having an illegal handgun. How come he's not charged and in jail right now? Because they're doing it for a reason. And that's why, if the AG had any guts, he's got a job. He's got a job to do is protect the rights of citizens. And the most important fundamental right you have is self-defense. This kid exercised it. You should be protecting this kid and his right to self-defend himself. Legal gun or not a legal gun, he would have had a right for it. Although I think it, like you said, he is the Call of Duty of the Year winner.
John, speaking of which, we're at an hour and 7 minutes. I think we should come up with our. We should do a wrap on the kids' rankings, because we had talked about this. And I mean, let's say is this in bad taste? You know what? As far as
are you feeling bad for a pedophile that got shot in the groin? No, I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is quite bluntly is this is our rebuttal to the Democrat media trying to destroy this kid's reputation and destroy this young man's life.
Oh, he's sitting in jail right now.
After he had to save his life 3 times in this night, 3 times at least, his life was on the line, and there was no government official, and none of those media hacks were there to save his life. Not one of them was there standing by him. So you know what? Is it in bad taste? I don't really care, because let me put it to you that way. The media is at fault for blowing this the wrong way. These guys are not innocent. Plain and simple, they were the aggressors. They got what they deserved. It may not be nice to say, it may not be politically correct, but it's time for us to say, when we stand up for ourselves, people are going to get hurt. And you know what? I'm not encouraging violence. I'm just simply saying they're the ones who brought violence to this kid, and this kid dealt with it. I want to give him, I was thinking about giving him the Punisher Award, John.
Well, they keep calling him the vigilante, yet there's a vigilante mob chasing him. Yet there's a vigilante mad about having his rolling fire put out by a fire extinguisher. I don't think he's the vigilante. They keep blaming him for being out of town. And yet what you were talking about earlier, turns out they're all Antifa from out of town, Black Lives Matter from out of town coming into that community.
Yep, they stopped a 10-car caravan filled with gasoline, filled with masks, filled with all kinds of other paraphernalia that is helmets and weapons and stuff like that, meant to cause disruption, meant to give to the rioters, meant so that they can stand there and stand up to the police, which are completely. And by the way, John, at first the Kenosha mayor reached out to the governor for help. Governor said, "No, I'm not sending you help. Not going to send you help." And then the congressman started pressuring President Trump, saying, "Please send us help, send us help." And lo and behold, now, John, the National Guard is there, which should have been there if the Democrats had done their job as leaders. They would have made sure the National Guard was there the first night they had problems, and this poor kid wouldn't be in jail right now, because the National Guard would have stopped all this violence like they have for the last 2 nights. So the people really responsible are the Democrat leaders who, the Democrat governor who didn't send the National Guard. It was his responsibility. He should be the one in jail.
It's not incompetence,
not
James.
the kid.
It's deliberate.
It's deliberate. That governor should be the one in jail, not Kyle. Kyle should be free. Free Kyle. And I'll say it again. I'll say it again, brother. He is the Call of Duty champion. He got one. He got
2020.
2. He got 3. He got 3 from these asshole who are trying to have the media portrays the real vigilantes in this are the 3 people who got shot. Because if you listen to the media, the media was trying to grab the gun from the kid, and the message is clear. If you're seeing somebody who's armed, you can take their gun. I'm sorry, carrying a gun does not mean you're looking for trouble. Carrying a gun is prudent. Carrying a gun is making sure that your family and you are safe. And when you start listening to the media, it's the media saying, "Oh, carrying a gun is dangerous." The kid was looking for trouble, and these 3 heroes, the pedophile, the burglar, they were trying to grab the gun from him. And you know what? I'm sorry, someone grabbing your gun, you're shooting them. Plain and simple. They're not cops. These guys aren't cops. They were vigilantes. These 3 people who got shot were vigilantes. They were the vigilantes. Kyle was the ordinary average citizen. He's a minor, for crying out loud. How dare they? How dare the governor?
A minor. And the other thing, too, is he weighs about 150 pounds, and these guys are all bigger than he is.
Adult men. Did you see the muscles on Rosenbaum? Look at that guy. Those John, aren't those like considered like jail muscles or something like that? I mean,
you mean I think you're saying his gym muscles ain't scaring me, boy.
Gym muscles, yeah, the gym muscles. I mean, the truth of the matter is that this kid doesn't deserve what's happening to him. You know what he needs?
No.
He needs.
And those detectives who followed those charges need to be hauled in and questioned. Who told them to do it? Why they do it? And why they ignoring
Democrat
the actual
prosecutor? I'm sure. Democrat prosecutor, John. I'm so fed up with this, and we as Americans. I mean, if you can't defend yourself, if you can't defend America, then what? What are we losing? We're losing our country. And again, we're not advocating violence, John. You and I have not advocated violence in all this. What we're pointing out, though, is as an American
AR-15 beats mob.
Yeah, an AR-15 beats a mob and a handgun, no less, and a bag of
baseball bat,
cocktails,
and skateboards, and fire.
Yep. And the skateboards, you mentioned it a couple days ago. The skateboard is being used by a lot of these punks as weapons. Why was this kid this guy Huber, this adult male, carrying a skateboard?
You can see them laughing about this in video. What they do is they use it to break windows with women, with suburban women in it. Whenever they take over one of these highways, you can see them going up and down, using it to break the windows to terrorize the poor women in the cars with their little babies.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. All my little friendly commie mommies out there, as we used to call them all the time, wake up. Look at this nonsense. It's coming to a neighborhood near you. This was a nice neighborhood before all this nonsense. Imagine beautiful these idiots setting things on fire. Wait, it's time to go?
No, I said it's a beautiful neighborhood. I was agreeing with you.
It's
I mean,
coming.
we should have been going 15 minutes ago, John.
Okay.
But
All right.
we're on a roll now, man. We should just
Well,
we
I
should
think
power through.
I can imagine a couple of recruiters. He should fight it all the way. Don't plead to anything. Fight it every way. Wait till after the election. Fight it all the way. And then when he gets out free, I can imagine the army would going, "Hey, army of one." Hey, why don't you come on down?
and you get right down to it, brother. You know, the people who set him up isn't just the Democrats who didn't send the Democrat governor and who didn't send in the National Guard when he should have. It's not just, you know, those people. It's the media who's hyping all the violence. It's the especially the Antifa, which set what they did. They set it up. So there's an organized plan, you know, tactics, you know, strategy. They pin the police in one location so that they can't, you know, they have reactionary to go out and deal with whatever, but they are not a presence anymore. Once you pin the police around the government facilities, then they are no longer effective to protect the people. Then the Antifa mob can go out there and ransack, destroy, scare the people. And
rape,
that's
assault, kill.
Exactly what would happen. Then, you know, this kid and the collection of other people there who are protecting their businesses, they're just trying to do what any American is trying to do, which is protect their property, protect their family's livelihood. I mean, the stories that I'm reading is there's an auto dealer. He's an Indian who came to America, and he's lost everything. He's lost millions of dollars of stuff. He's never going to get it back. It's all destroyed. He's only one story of many from Kenosha. Why? Because Antifa pinned the police around the government buildings, and all they could do. There's a video, you described it. What they do is they send the Bearcats out, and then they take care of the people inside the Bearcat. So Huber was they picked up his body, put it into the back of the Bearcat so that they could start taking care of him. Because why? Because they are surrounded. Again, clear indication that Antifa is trying to pin the police in one spot, and now they're like a military force. They have to protect themselves in order to render aid to the person that was shot on the ground. This is a military situation, not the streets of America. And why? Because Antifa is militarizing this and turning this into a fight against the ordinary average citizen, against these mobs. It's got to stop. And the damn Democrat leadership in these states, they're the ones at fault. They're the ones who should be held accountable. And if they don't lose their job, they're not indicted. You know, Barr should go after them. He should be investigating them for what they're not doing, for not doing their job.
I was watching the great Bishop Sheen today, and he explains this is the same thing that was going on then. There's the American Revolution and Thomas Jefferson, based on dignity of the individual, and our rights come from God. Then there is a contemporary of his time that he probably ran into in France. It's Saint Just, and the Saint Just revolution in France was based on the terror, and based on the idea that you couldn't have revolution except for except for a pile of bodies. And this is the terror, the reign of terror that would take over France, and it then would result in, it is the basis of Marxism, communism, socialism, and the left. This is their standard operating procedure we see versus the American revolution, versus the American way. It's literally a conflict, a war that's now come in to America, of the American way and this evil communist reign of terror way. But I see you looking at the clock. It must be time to go.
Yeah, we have to go out, brother. I will send us out how we came in. God bless you. Remember, we're not advocating violence, but I want to make
we're
it
advocating
clear.
self-defense and AR-15s. AR-15 beats
self-defense. Self-defense is self-defense. You know, and you know, Kyle was in the right because he was trying to get away, and it just wasn't going to happen for him when you have a determined mob. That's what it was.
So what do you think? There's going to be a whole new game? Urban.
There's already, John. I think I was telling you there's Call of Duty has Nuketown, and
so it'd be Call of Duty.
He would be the
K version, the Kyle version.
He would be the Nuketown champion on this one.
All right. All right.
But more on that later. But I'm sure this will progress.
We'll keep people updated.
Yeah, the Democrat media will definitely be still attacking him and trying to get him. Anyway, here we go, brother. Make sure you all pay attention. This is the RNC highlights from the RNC.
At the Democrat National Convention, Joe Biden and his party repeatedly assailed America as a land of racial, economic, and social injustice. So tonight I ask you a simple question. How can the Democrat Party ask to lead our country when it spends so much time tearing down our country? They do not see America as the most free, just, and exceptional nation on earth. Instead, they see a wicked nation that must be punished for its sins.
So why don't they forego their security and replace them with social workers, especially since that's what they want for you and me?
Keep in mind, the other guy running for president is mostly concerned about power. Yes, power for them, but not for the benefit of all Americans.
I'm speaking to you from an auditorium emptier than Joe Biden's daily schedule. But
the CCP is an enemy of humanity.
President Trump will stand up against Biden-Harris, who are the most anti-life presidential ticket ever, even supporting the horrors of late-term abortion and infanticide.
President Trump is the pro-America candidate. This election is about who can preserve the values, principles, and institutions that make America great. Don't believe me? Look at what's happening in American cities. Cities all run by Democrats. Crime, violence, and mob rule. Democrats refuse to denounce the mob, and their response to the chaos? Defund the police, defund Border Patrol, and defund our military. And while they're doing all this, they're also trying to take away your guns. Look at the positions they've taken in the past few months. Democrats won't let you go to church, but they'll let you protest. Democrats won't let you go to work, but they'll let you riot. Democrats won't let you go to school, but they'll let you go loot.
Let me remind you, the Democrats have controlled this part of Baltimore City for over 50 years. And they have run this beautiful place right into the ground. Abandoned buildings, liquor stores in every corner, drug addicts, guns on the street. That's now the norm in many neighborhoods. You'd think Maryland taxpayers would be getting a whole lot since our taxes are out of control. Instead, we're paying for decades of incompetence and corruption. Sadly, the same cycle of decay exists in many of America's Democrat-run cities. And yet the Democrats still assume that black people will vote for them, no matter how much they let us down and take us for granted.
But there are people today, like politicians, professors, protesters, and of course, President Trump's naysayers in the media who like to blame others for problems. They don't have pride in our country. And because they no longer ask, what can I do for my country? Only what the country should be doing for them.